Queensland Government in Shanghai and is starting to become involved in some of their processes. Our survey also identified a series of other social problems which are experienced by international students here, and again, none of these will be necessarily surprises to anyone. I suppose, though, it's important that we act upon what we're seeing here. We're talking about isolation, evidence of discrimination, and indeed concern about personal safety by students in certain parts of the city. So we feel it's important that where we can, that we share that message with government authorities. Brisbane Marketing is a private company, but we share with Brisbane City Council and with the state government authorities, including Queensland Police and others, what some of those concerns are. And we've tried to work with our education provider members as well to roll out the welcome mat and provide information to students as soon as they arrive in Brisbane. So we have a program running in partnership with the Brisbane Airport Corporation to welcome international students year-round, and some specific activities happening twice a year at the primary intake periods for the majority of our institutions. So we've moved in partnership with a publishing company, and we've produced a guide for international students, a guide that hasn't existed in the past. It's the same guide, in fact, that is now available in Adelaide and Melbourne, produced by Insider Publishing. A couple of Australian students who've studied overseas themselves, now graduated, have set up their own company, and they're running this program. What we try and do is work with these guys to have information prepared in the guide by students. So it's actually student information prepared by students for students. The guide's available at the International Airport, at our own Visitor Information Centre in the city, in all of the libraries across Brisbane, and through all of our member institutions. We also have some foreign language content available, quite a suite of videos and information which we make available to our members and to education agents offshore. The other primary tool that's in place to help students once they're here to understand what's on in Brisbane is, of course, the website. Now, there's no real difference here to what exists in Adelaide or Melbourne or Perth or London or Dublin for that matter. I guess the point is that this didn't exist 3 years ago in Brisbane, and what we are trying to do is to make this as flexible an information dissemination mechanism as is possible. So we have created the ability for our student ambassadors to blog directly into this site, for them to take queries, live queries from overseas students about what life is like here in Brisbane. And I guess importantly, this year we've started to respond to some feedback that we've had from the website's audience, and working together with some of our student ambassadors to prepare information that's relevant and topical for the time. So a couple of weeks ago, a tax guide for students was prepared and posted on the site. Simple stuff like, how do I find a doctor in Brisbane? What's the medical industry like here in Australia? Work experience tips, some of the soft skills for job application for graduating students, and of course study habit tips. Now, I'm not entirely convinced that all of our student ambassadors have the very best study habit tips, but the point is that there's the ability for them to interact online with the audience here. To the matter of personal safety, we've been working closely with the Brisbane City Council, who has a personal safety training program available, and that's now being rolled out across Brisbane and made available to domestic and international students. It's a program which is available through the council facilities or can be put on campus by institutions as well. It's actually a violence minimisation program, and they split it up by gender. So I think that's a very tangible and very useful mechanism where we've been able to take some feedback from the students and turn this into an activity that hopefully will improve the experience of the students when they're here. We're working with our members, encouraging them to offer a platform for friendship establishment by students. Again, if I look at some of the work of our student ambassadors this year, it's been quite amazing to see, for example, the Filipino student cohort in Brisbane come together for barbecues that have been run down at the local park here in the city by two of our Filipino student ambassadors. Some real proactivity happening here, which is wonderful to see. I'll tell you a little bit about a major event that we try and run at the beginning of each year to welcome students into Brisbane as well. From a point of view of public relations, I think, as I said earlier, far too much is said domestically and internationally about the economic value of international education, and this is making its way into the marketing mix. I don't think that's necessarily right. Our approach is to focus upon the social contribution that international students can bring to Australia and to Brisbane. And to that end, with some terrific support from the Lord Mayor at a local government level here, who has become the spokesman for a lot of international student issues, and indeed focusing upon raising residential awareness about this social as well as economic value that students bring into our city. In a couple of weeks' time, I'm really pleased to let you know that we're going to be launching a Muslim student guide to Brisbane. It's a guide that's been prepared by a couple of our Saudi Arabian student ambassadors, but also they've been doing that in partnership with local imams, and it's a guide that will be available in both Arabic and in English. It's not rocket science, but it's the first time that Brisbane as a city has actually been able to outline where are the halal restaurants, where are the mosques, etc., so that where are the community centres that are welcoming for Muslim families. We note that most of the Middle Eastern students that come into Brisbane that we're dealing with are bringing their families with them, for example. Most recently, we've signed a contract with iPhone application developer, and we'll be building over the next 2 months a Chinese mobile phone application for Chinese visitors to Brisbane. That's something that has come about through a government grant that we received from the federal government just over 18 months ago. We've been running a program promoting Brisbane as a destination for education, tourism and the conventions market in 5 cities at a business-to-business level in China. The statistics are quite telling. At March this year, the whole of Australia saw a 1.6% decline in Chinese student enrolments. At that stage, Brisbane saw a 5.8% increase in student enrolments from mainland China. So this iPhone application is being built, without going into the technical detail, it's being built in simplified Chinese and will be rolled out to welcome our largest student cohort and to give them the information that they need when they arrive here in Chinese. I think I've probably said enough about our China project. I'm conscious of time, given that the AGM is going to be held in here. Moving on then to the major event that we hold from a social inclusion perspective here in Brisbane. Through a lot of hard work and sponsorship, we're able to host a large international student welcome event in the city each year. It's held in March, and some of the people that have been supportive of us, I have to mention ACPED here has been with us since the first day, the first year that we held this event. This year we had over 3,500 newly arrived international students come through the event, 50 exhibitors and something like 7 live bands, etc., etc. The point of the event is that we've taken it away from a setting where it was a lock-up for international students in the City Hall, and we've moved it into a general public festival. So we have community service announcements that go out on our local radio stations here in Brisbane, encouraging residents of Brisbane to come and meet these new clients of the city and to befriend them. And look, I think that this is working. Just a quick video, thanks Ben, about the event.